and welcome to iBuzz. I'm your host Nosheen Bukhari with yet another exciting episode in which I will be bringing you the most exciting news from the entertainment world. Coming to our top 5 stories of the day. Mrs. World Caroline Jury steps down after crown snatching. Former Big Brother contestant Nikki Graham dies aged 38. The movie Nomadland exposes the cult of the West, winning 6 nominations for the Oscar. Netflix's first Australian reality TV show is set to be hosted by Byron Bays. And the Kardashians have finally decided to end their reality show. Coming to our top story of the day, it has been a wild ride for Nomadland, Chloe Zhao's amazing portrait of the U.S. ruthless modern migrant. Shot for $5 million and largely featuring amateur actors, it is the little movie that could this year's rags to riches. It has already scored 6 Best nominations for Oscars. To discuss this further, we have Mayank Shekhar with us, who is an award-winning film critic, and he writes in a Mumbai-based newspaper called Midday. Mayank, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nosheen, for having me.
So it has been a very tough year for the film industry, but then again, movies like Nomadland are making their ways to the Oscars. It has won the Golden Lion Award from Venice Film Festival, then Best Motion Picture in Golden Globe, and then People's Choice Award in Toronto Film Festival. So what exactly do you think that made this movie so special to win so many awards up until now?
Well, I think the big one is still up ahead, which is the Oscars. Those are the only awards that have a genuine global appeal in terms of even box office point of view. If a film wins at Oscars, suddenly its box office shoots up multiple levels. And one of the reasons why very inclusive independent cinema gets made in America is because Oscars remain the incentive. And it's really swept the boats there. I think 6 nominations, of which 4 have gone to one person. That's Chloe Zhao, who's the director, who's the producer, who's the editor, and who's also the writer of the film. Of course, it's based on a non-fiction account, but she's written a screenplay. I think all eyes would be there. But yes, leading up to it, it's picked up a whole lot of awards from the top film festivals to, of course, the other contenders for the Oscars in terms of how popular those awards are. It's kind of obvious to me why it would be a film in the reckoning for multiple reasons. One, of course, is what it's talking about. Its setting, how it sort of also, there is so many layers to this film, so much subtext to this film, and none of which, of course, is spelled out. So you can see, for instance, in America, which is hopeless, which is jobless to a huge extent, which is dealing with insecurity, social insecurity, leading up to Trump. So the film is set in 2011, which is a great timing in its own way, which is also post-recession America in a huge way. It's looking into that. Then it's also looking into the various other aspects of life itself, about aging and about how aging is a terminal illness of its own. You can't escape it. And then there are attachments and emotions and families and bonds that tie us, but they can also, in a way, suffocate us. And here is the main character who's just at that, at the evening of her life, decides that, she wants to be by her own, a choice she makes, and we see how that pans out. It asks a very important question, also keeping all those things in mind, which is, can this kind of life, which is a nomadic life, where you move from one place to another, seeking temporary jobs, when living in an RV or a recreational vehicle, pretty much parking yourself and going from one place to another, is that even sustainable? And it does not give easy answers. It may be sustainable for some, as you see it in the film, and totally unsustainable for others. So I think it's a film that makes you think. It's a film that also reflects the time that is set in, and it's also a film that moves you in certain ways without it being very obvious. It's not a very emotionally hard-hitting film. I think there's some distance in there, which is nice. There's a lot of subtlety in the screenplay as well.
Of course, the idea of hope in this movie is something that makes it stand out. We already have seen a similar movie, which was, I mean, it was very depressing. I'm talking about Into the Wild. The ending was
Yes.
towards hopelessness. But in this movie, there are a lot of struggles shown. But then again, in the end, there is a lot of hope given to humanity. So in your opinion, what was the most compelling feature of this movie?
Well, I'm glad that you brought up Into the Wild, Nausheen. In fact, I recently rewatched the film. It's a 2007 film set in the 1990s in the US, with roughly the same idea of, of living by yourself. Is it possible? And of course, that was a different kind of film for multiple reasons. One is that the character was extremely young. It had the streak of rebellion. Here, the person is extremely old, old by in comparison to the lead character in Into the Wild, and her circumstances are totally different. The big difference is between choice and circumstances between Into the Wild and Nomadland. But I think how the two films differ, most importantly, and that's one of the things that drew me to Nomadland, is how it surveys a subculture in America. She is not the only person living the life. There's an entire subculture of people who, who really pack all those things they love in terms of material belongings into a vehicle, and they just set off. And all that you really love can actually be packed into a vehicle. It really be packed into a room. And she's not the only one staring at the sun. There's a whole lot of them. And because the film is based on a non-fictional account, a book by the same name, it's a journalistic account, in fact. Yeah. So there is a level of truth in it, which I thought was even higher than realism. Because in fact, a lot of the co-actors of Frances McDormand, who plays the lead character, they're actually fictionalized versions of real people who actually live that life in reality. So I think it really strikes you as a film that's more than just realistic. In fact, it's as real as it gets, which was not the case so much with Into the Wild. And I agree with you, Nausheen. I think Into the Wild really depresses you in many ways. Of course, it's a lyrical film. It really draws you in. It makes you think, but it leaves you feeling very cold by the end of it, which is not the case with Nomadland.
Again, the question is that what do you think is the most compelling feature of this movie?
I think the most compelling feature would be the subculture that the film manages to survey. It stops being only about Frances McDormand's character, who is, of course, the whole story is centered on her. But it actually lets me into a world which, frankly speaking, I had no idea about. And in fact, there are some characters in the film that I intend to read more about to get a sense. There's an evangelist who is an RV evangelist in a certain way, who wants people to live their life. And, he actually hosts camps and stuff for people to sort of, build a commune around RV living or what is called van dwelling, as it were. These are or nomadic life in an urban sort of way. So I think that is the first time that I've come across this subculture. That's one. The last time that I remember, and in a completely different context, of course, was this film called Easy Riders. It's an iconic film from 1969. In a way, it heralded the birth of new Hollywood in a certain sense. It was all about these biker gangs and the life they led. I think that same generation, when they got older, probably would have been Nomadland in a certain way. So I saw a better parallel with Easy Riders. And the second thing, and I think this may have a lot to do with the Chinese filmmaker, the person who's made the film. She's of Chinese origin, Chinese born. I think the America that she sees through her eyes is very different, even in terms of locations and vistas, is very different from the America we see in Hollywood mainstream. I think she brings a certain gaze, which is rare, and I think she adds to the drama with that gaze. I did not see this coming. I thought this was going to be a weepy, but it's not. It's emotional, but not something that makes you cry in the way Into the Wild did.
And it's like so much encouraging that I'm afraid most of the people who watch it, they're going to decide to move out in an RV and start living that way. Isn't it so?
Well, I think if a film can have that effect on someone's life, then it's probably the greatest movie ever made. I really doubt it, but it really does get you thinking, and that's about the best that a movie can do. Does it mean that when you switch on the film, you pack your bags and you say bye to your family? I really hope not.
Yeah. Yeah. Mayank, we have seen the trends changing. I mean, do you think that it's going to set another trend? Because previously we have been witnessing movies like Inception and movies with very complicated ideas making their ways to the Oscar nomination. But this movie, which is shot for only $5 million budget, and it's largely it's featuring amateur actors. So with these features, do you think that Hollywood filmmakers are trying to change the trends, and will it work for the other filmmakers as well?
I think by and large, over the past half decade at least, that we can think of, especially when there was a full campaign also, about Oscars not being hugely inclusive. I think they've really genuinely made an effort to bring voices from all across, determined not so much by the budgets of those films, but far more by the stories and the diversity of stories being told. Whether you take a film like Parasite, which really swept the Oscars last year, and it was totally a Korean drama. Never has a foreign film, quote unquote, or at least a film competing for foreign film Oscars, won the Best Picture also. And here you have a Chinese filmmaker commenting about current America. And again, I don't think the budgets mattered. As with the case with, say, even a film like Roma, which was a fabulous film. If your viewers haven't seen Roma, I think they must check it out on Netflix. It was a Netflix original. We have too many examples of films that are independent by nature. And when I say independent, I also mean budgets. But more importantly, I mean independent voices and independent thoughts and independent ideas, included in them. I think that has been the Oscars' raison d'etre. It has been the reason of its existence. And it's been a fabulous, fabulous run that Oscars have had in terms of also the content that's been generated to sort of appeal to them. The reason why we're watching Nomadland at this time of the year is because it's Oscar season. And, there'll be lots of other films that one intends to check out, whether it's Sound of Metal, which is the next film that I want to watch. I mean, there's a whole list of
that,
best...
by the way. I will personally recommend that movie to you, Sound of Metal. It's
Absolutely,
amazing.
looking forward to it. Forward to it. So that's really what it is. I mean, what Oscars have done in the past, in the recent past for sure, is you bring out a pretty good long list of Best Picture nominees, and then you want to tick off one after the other, just so you can make up your mind on what you thought was the best. And it's a great way to go about it, because none of these films are your typical blast fests or typical superhero franchise films, which is really what otherwise Hollywood concentrates on, because that's where the budgets are, and budgets determined by where the audiences are.
Right. Mayank, thank you very much indeed. It was wonderful talking to you. And now moving to the details of our stories of the day. Mrs. World Caroline Jury steps down after crown snatching. In an Instagram video, Mrs. World relinquishes her crown and addresses the on-stage incident with Pushpika De Silva at the Mrs. Sri Lanka World Beauty Contest. Former Big Brother contestant Nikki Graham dies at age 38. She was the reality TV star who gained fame as a Big Brother contestant. Graham from Northwood in London had recently been receiving treatment for an eating disorder at a specialist clinic after a fundraising campaign organized by friends and fans. But the situation for her got worse during the pandemic lockdown. Graham was an English television personality, model, and author. She was a contestant on the 7th series of Big Brother UK in 2006, in which she finished in 5th place and later starred in her own reality series called Princess Nikki. The too good to be true lifestyles of Byron Bay's glam residents are about to get the full reality TV treatment with Netflix, announcing its latest docu-soap. It will be filmed in the northern NSW beachside town. While Byron counts its fair share of international celebrities as residents, such as Chris Hemsworth and wife Elsa Pataki, Matt Damon, Zac Efron, and Olivia Newton, the show will turn its lens to those who have attained fame through an alternative medium. Once considered a bohemian enclave, Byron Bay is now believed to have more social influencers as per capita than any other town in Australia. And the Kardashians have finally decided to end their reality show. After 14 years on air, Keeping Up with the Kardashians will end in 2021 with its milestone 20th season. Though the surprise announcement shocked longtime fans and inspired a slew of complex emotions, according to Entertainment Tonight, the Kardashian family all mutually agreed that it was time to say goodbye to their namesake show. The family, being a constant target of controversies, have decided to take this huge decision this year. Well, I hope this is not going to be a sad end for the Kardashians, but that is it from the newsroom. We will be right back after a quick short break, so stay tuned. Welcome back. Now we all know that the glitters and sparks of entertainment world can attract everybody. But then again, it's not an easy job to maintain this lifestyle. In this segment, From Riches to Rags, we have three personalities from showbiz who were once hot, but now not. On top, we have Paris Hilton. Have you been wondering what Paris Hilton is up to lately? The girl who once had fame in her pocket is no longer dominating the front pages of magazines like she used to. What exactly did she do to make herself disappear from the spotlight, especially when she was at the height of her fame? She could sing, she could write, and she could sometimes do manual work. So what was there left to do for her? Acting. Unfortunately, this was the thing that proved to be too much for her to handle. Paris made appearances in films like The Horror House of Wax, rom-com The Hottie and the Naughty, all of which earned her Golden Raspberry Awards for bad acting. The frequency at which she won these awards landed her the title of Worst Actress of the Decade. On number 2, we have Lindsay Lohan. Everybody used to love Lindsay Lohan back in the days when she was starring in Parent Trap and even Mean Girls. The New York Times report that at one point she was even America's favorite troubled teen, treated with scorn and sexism. She's made headlines several times with unfortunate brushes with the law and a series of stints in rehab. As her celebrity status grew, Lindsay Lohan started spending more time at New York nightclubs, and her lifestyle became the subject of tabloid fodder, with issues ranging from her father's prison scandals to rumors of her own struggles with bulimia. In 2007, she was arrested twice, and both times she was found to be in possession of small amounts of cocaine, but each time was only charged with 2 counts of driving under the influence and a single count of reckless driving. The same year, she spent 3 stints in rehab. CNN reports that between 2007 and 2012, Lohan's struggle with drugs and alcohol sent her to 5 rehab facilities for a total of 250 days. Later, in 2018, Lohan moved to Dubai for some time, stating that she has decided to become a spiritual person for now. She would share her knowledge, learnings, and practices with the fans on social media, but unfortunately, she was judged by both liberals and conservatives in the US, to which Lindsay didn't pay any attention. Rumor has it that the 35-year-old actress is now returning to the big screen, hopefully with a sequel of Mean Girls. On number 3, star of The Mummy, George of the Jungle, the bedazzled Brendan Fraser. He was frequently a leading man on the big screen between the 90s and 2000s. While he continues to work, the actor is not the high-profile star he once was. Mind you, his next role in TV series Trust, based on the same true-life kidnapping of John Paul Getty II that inspired Ridley Scott's All the Money in the World, could just be his next big hit. Fraser discussed the show with co-star Hilary Swank and Donald Sutherland in a new interview, during which he also went into the reasons for his fading career during the 2000s. It turns out the reasons are complicated and manifold. Firstly, the actor was plagued by injuries from doing so much stunt work. He underwent numerous surgeries. The actor estimated that he was in and out of hospitals for almost 7 years. In 2016, his mother passed away, while a number of other occurrences uprooted his life. The future was definitely looking bright for Fraser, and everyone awaited what his next big movie would be. However, instead of rising up and taking on more serious roles like was expected, he started to disappear from the industry altogether. To discuss this further, we have Will Godley with us, who is a broadcast journalist from UK. Welcome to the show, Will.
Thank you.
So we were discussing about these 3 exclusive personalities, but then there are like a lot of other actors and artists who have to deal with a lot of pressure. When they come into this field, they all know that what they are opting for. But then again, most of them cannot handle the pressure. What possible reasons do you see for this?
Well, some people think being a celebrity is a dream job, and in many aspects it is a fantastic job. You are recognized around the world. You often get to do things that no one else gets to do. But with that, there are all kinds of downsides. From being recognized everywhere. You can't do everyday things. You can't go to the shops. You can't go to the movie theaters. You can't go and see your friends. And so when you're restricted in such ways, and if you were to do them, your safety would be compromised. It can be very debilitating being these celebrities in these situations who then turn to doing different activities which can have very bad consequences.
Right. And the normal life, it's kind of snatched from them. So again, it's also about emotional well-being. Like talking about Brendan Fraser, he had to go through a lot of pressure. He was fighting with his divorce. His mother died during the process. So he was emotionally weak. So how does this emotional wellness help the artist to come back to their career?
I mean, there's huge emotional stress. And when most people would be addressing their divorce or family grieving behind closed doors, celebrities are often doing it for everyone to see and for everyone to watch. And that can often be very difficult, seeing what newspapers are writing about you. And often for these celebrities, they feel like that is what the general consensus feel like, because newspapers, of course, impact a huge number of people and what they think about certain people. And so if all of a sudden a celebrity goes through a downfall and something bad happens in their life, the press all of a sudden very quickly turn against them, and then they can feel very isolated and very alone.
Talking about the tabloids and magazines, the fan base opinion is mostly captured through these tabloids. But then again, these are the fans who make or break the career. How important do you think is the support, and in what ways these fans can support when a celebrity is going through an emotional breakdown or the toughest days of their career?
I think as a fan of many artists, many actors, many celebrities, you often feel like you're one of millions. You don't really feel like what you do can have an impact. Well, actually, many fans or many people around the world do have huge impact on these celebrities, especially in the age of social media, when they can see the comments under their posts, whether they're good or they're bad. These celebrities can see them, and if they feel like fans are behind them, then that's a huge confidence boost and a huge morale boost. And so for them, it helps them to carry on with their jobs, with what they're doing, without feeling like everyone hates them and without feeling like they're an imposter there. Because to be a celebrity, you have to be liked, because otherwise you aren't going to be employed. You aren't going to have jobs, because for an actor, no one's going to want to see the film. And you know, that's happened before in many situations. And if the fans turn against them, they don't get work. It's not until then the actor maybe fixes their situation until the fans want to go and see them in the cinema again.
But don't you think that the filmmakers or the production houses can step in to bring those artists back to the business? If the fans are angry, they are disappointed, they can, you know, once again they can enjoy the artist's performance. So do you think this is where production companies should play a role, bringing back and giving another chance to these actors to perform?
I think it's very difficult, isn't it? Because for an actor who, if they're in cinema, is fantastic at what they do, they're a brilliant actor, but they're playing a character. They're not playing themselves. They're doing something that's completely different to who they are, and they're not portraying them. So when you're enjoying the film, you're not seeing the person behind the character, that you're not seeing the actor, you're seeing a character. And they can act that extremely well, perfectly well. But then if the person behind that is maybe they've done something wrong, maybe they've been arrested, maybe they're not a very nice person. For the people working on that film, obviously it's not going to be a very nice time for them, but the actor has a huge purchasing power until people turn against them. And so usually it depends what the actors have done.
Will, thank you very much indeed for your precious time. That was Will Godley discussing the reasons behind the downfall of many artists. And that is it from today's episode. I hope you liked it. Do share your feedback on the social media link mentioned down below. We'll see you next time. Take care and goodbye.